thinker, I am both practical and creative. I understand there are multiple ways to overcome challenges, and open communication is the key to ongoing success. If elected, I promise to listen to your concerns and work with you to improve our schools and strengthen our bonds as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lozito.
Thank you, League of Women Voters. Good evening, fellow candidates and residents. My name is John Lozito, and tonight I hope to share my...
You're on.
Do you hear me?
I see a frozen picture. Have we lost?
Do you hear me?
Okay.
We can hear you, John, but we can't see you.
Okay. Yeah, there's
I
something
see
going
him, but
on.
don't hear him.
Okay. Well, I'll continue. I don't want to send. I can. Hopefully, you can catch up.
Okay.
Um,
All right. This is the world of Zoom. All right.
Can't start the video.
Maybe John can try logging out and logging back in,
Yeah. So let me
if
see.
you can hear us.
I can.
All right.
Can you hear me? No.
This is where TV would put up a screen that says we're experiencing technical difficulties. All right, and
Okay. Here I am.
looks like we got about 100 people in the audience. Thank you for your patience. We'll get this worked out.
Can you hear me?
I see a frame with his name, but I don't see a picture and I don't hear anything.
John, I can hear you and see you.
You can hear me and see me?
I can.
I can.
Okay. Can everyone?
Yeah, I think you're back.
Okay. Sorry
There
about
you are.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
sorry about that.
Your opening statement.
Thank you. So sorry about that. Thank you, League of Women Voters. Good evening, fellow candidates and residents. My name is John Lozito, and tonight I hope to share my vision for these transformational times. I'm a lifelong student, born of teachers. Learning is in my blood. Degrees in economics, administration, and history have enabled me during my career. Through good times and crises across industry, nonprofit, and academia, I've overseen budgeting, planning, and decisions. I've aided and I've led. I've also served in Mamaronec's own historical society, as an investment committee member at my alma mater, and on recovery missions searching for American service members lost in World War II. When I see a cause I can believe in, which I believe I can help, I get involved. This election includes candidates with long relationships and service to Rye Neck. But if the last year has taught us anything, it is that familiarity can limit our imagination. I'm the only candidate with the experience needed to strategically plan, assess our budgets, and formally monitor performance. But much more important, I can help us dream. My approach is grounded in the axiom that good fortune is always and only found where planning meets inspiration. I look forward to tonight's discussion.
Did I drop out for a minute there? I don't know what's going on. All right, I'm here. I usually have this on Wi-Fi. It is hardwired tonight because I didn't want anything to go wrong. You're all hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're ready to go to questions.
Okay.
As I said, the questions have been submitted by the audience and vetted by the league. I will pose the questions. The order will rotate. The first question will begin with Mr. Lozito. And it is this. What do you identify as Rye Neck School District's greatest strengths?
Well, I think that the greatest strength that I hear and I've experienced is the community. It is clear to me, being a relatively new resident here, that the bonds are strong and they're long lasting. I went to a fairly small private school for high school. And I say fairly regularly that, those friends that I made, those experiences that I had will last the rest of my life. And one of the reasons that we moved here, the primary reason was because of that, because we wanted to replicate that type of an experience. And so I am pretty confident that everyone would agree that that is probably the number one strength of Rye Neck, the community, the size. It is a special place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Nishalski.
I think it's me. Sorry.
Yes, Ms. Nishalski.
I thought, okay, I'm happy to go. Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What do you identify as Rye Neck School District's greatest strengths?
Thank you. I think Rye Neck's greatest strengths is the fact that it is a small district. It is basically, we are one family. That is the feel that you have when you walk on any campus and you see the students, the teachers and staff. We all come together, and as this year showed in a time of crisis, that we were all there to help each other in one way or another throughout the last year. Every student at Rye Neck gets an individualized
I'm sorry. Is it my feed that's dropping out? I'm sorry.
I don't see Patty. I heard maybe half of what she said.
Okay, I see Patty, but I missed the last part of the audio, and I don't know what's going on. All right.
was my answer cut off?
I didn't hear it. Did others hear it?
It was cut off.
It was
Yeah.
cut off.
I'm off,
All right.
Patty.
May
Okay.
I?
Okay,
Can we have
then
Patty
what
go
I would,
again?
yes. If it was generally cut off for everybody, then yes, I don't know what's going on, but as if it's your turn, start over.
Okay. I think Rye Neck's greatest strength is its size. We are small. We get together and interact with each other as a family. In time of crisis, like we had this year, we all come together and try to make sure our families, our neighbors, and our students are all taken care of. Every student gets an individualized education. Teachers know the students, they know their strengths, their weaknesses, and where they need additional assistance. Rye Neck is a very special place to live, and we produce successful young adults when they leave Rye Neck after 12th grade. Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Harvey.
I too believe that one of our greatest strengths is that we're a small district. So I won't.
Heather's unfrozen now, so maybe she should try again.
Yeah, the entire
Is that
thing
the
shut
same,
down
the
and
same thing
restarted.
happened? So it's not just me? Nobody could hear her?
Correct.
Yeah, I stopped because
Okay.
I
I
realized
don't know what, we've done a lot of Zoom things and we haven't had this. Okay, I'm really sorry, but pretend that didn't happen. Start again.
Okay, so Rye Neck's greatest strengths. I agree that the size of our district is one of our greatest strengths, probably the one greatest strengths. We can operate like a private school, but we are indeed a public school, which is great. I also feel that we have this wonderful community of caring people who want to be involved and have so much to offer. Parents who want to volunteer their time, who want to help in so many different ways, and who bring so much to the table, who are educated in so many different ways with different specialties. I think that's a great strength of ours as well. I'm gonna let it go at that before I cut off again.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you very much. Okay, and Ms. Mansell.
Hi, thanks. I'm going to echo some of the sentiments of the other candidates. Obviously, having a small school district is something that attracted many of us to Rye Neck. I also want to point out that while we're small, we're also extremely diverse, socioeconomically, ethnically diverse. We have a range of students from all over the world. We have many international families.
I don't hear. Do you hear?
No.
I don't know what's going on. All right, Doug, are you hearing me? You're muted,
Yeah, hi, Paul, I hear you.
but Rebecca was, she was.
There
cut off.
she's back.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what, Paul, I'll talk to Zoom tech support while you continue. And I'll
All
see
right.
if they've got an answer.
I've just never seen this. I'm sorry.
did we get
Okay.
any of it or should I do it again?
Got the beginning, but I'm going to do the same thing and just say, start over. And to the 106 people out there, we're very sorry, but hang in there. We're going to get this.
Well, we're a small district. We all agree that's an asset. I was also speaking about our diversity as a district. We are socioeconomically diverse. We have a range of students from all over the world. We have a lot of international communities. My family is international as well. And I think that brings a special depth to our community, and it allows our children to learn from a range of children who are not all exactly like they are. So I think that's really special to be both small and extremely diverse. I also think, as Patty said, we have a wonderful community where people support each other in bad times. We've all had our moments of crises when all you have to do is say someone's passed in your family, or you've had a foot surgery or something like that, and you will have meals and calls and texts. And it's really the kind of community where we all work together to support one another's children and make them feel like they're part of a family.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the second question where Ms. Mansell, you'll be first. And I hope we can get through all the answers without a hitch. If elected, when you look back after this term of 3 years, what does success look like?
That's a good question. Thank you. I think success looks like having improved some key things that I think we need to work on in Rye Neck. The first is communication. Right now, there are some issues with communication. Our website needs to be revamped, which is already in progress. We have members of the community who are taxpayers but don't have children in the schools, who feel like they don't have the information they need to participate in fora like this, and they don't have the information they need. So I would like to see communication improved. I would also like to see us bring joy back into the classrooms. COVID has been tough for everyone, but I think that we want to develop lifelong learners who love to learn. That's the key to success, in my opinion. So I'd like to look back and see that my children felt that learning was joyful at every age, elementary through high school. And I think that would be a measure of my success should I be elected to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Lozito.
So it is a great question, and I echo what Rebecca's indicated. Three things that I would look back on as success. The first being operating sustainability. COVID is the challenge of a century. And I hear Rebecca mention joy. I agree. My parents were teachers. I understand that. But I think you have to have a baseline sustainability in your operations to make sure that it keeps running. We don't know what the outlook will look like. Two, a strategic plan. I believe that Rye Neck understands what it wants to be. I'm not sure that it has codified it or memorialized it anywhere. And I think we need to do that. And finally, transparency. Rebecca mentioned it. It is definitely a challenge. Not withholding anything that the board has done currently, but there is a lot of opportunity there for improvement on the transparency side.
Thank you. And Ms. Michalski.
Okay, for me, I believe success is going to be multifaceted. When I look back on 5 years, I really want to think of students. I want to think about children going through our curriculum and advancing and improving on skills from the year before. I'm here to represent the taxpayers, but I have to admit my focus is completely on the students. I believe that there'll be a continuation of our projects. The new science center will be complete. We'll have our new science curriculum starting from kindergarten, going all the way through 12th grade, and providing just opportunities that we can't even imagine right now as we sit here tonight. When I look back, and if I have something that I can be proud of at the end of the next 3 years, it would really be that we gave our students every opportunity that they wished that Rye Neck provided, and that we really just gave our students the best foundation to go be their best selves. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Harvey.
Success for me after 3 years would be that we made it through COVID. Hopefully all of this will be a distant memory by then. That would be wonderful. We closed the learning gap that COVID left on our kids being on at-home learning for so long. Not everyone is able to keep up that way. It's really, really difficult for some students to learn that way. Making it through the social emotional challenges that COVID left us with, having the students, well, to echo Rebecca, be a little more joyful than they are right now, because we can all agree it's a really, really, really tough time. Aside from COVID, I'd like to see the achievement gap closed a little bit as well. We have high performers, but we also have students who need help, and I would like to see them get a little bit more of the extra help that they need, and I would like to close that gap a little, bring them up with the help that they need.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and the next question, we will start with you, Ms. Harvey. And it reads, what do you think the relationship should be between the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools? And what immediate issues would you like to see the superintendent address?
So what do I think the relationship should be? I think the board and the superintendent should work hand in hand. I think they have the common goal of doing what is best for the kids, giving them the absolute best education possible. And can you repeat the second part of the question? Yes.
What immediate issues would you like to see the superintendent address?
It comes down to communication for me, as I think for many of us. I would like to see more communication. I would like to see the community being allowed to be involved, not just sort of told what's happening after it has already happened or after the decision has already been made. And I think that's absolutely attainable. I think the board and the superintendent can work together, especially given that we are starting off with a new superintendent. I think that's all very possible.
Thank you. Ms. Mansell.
Hi, thanks. I agree with Heather that we should be, the board and the superintendent should work together to make progress. However, I also want to add that as a board, you are the employer of the superintendent. So it is also the board's job to evaluate the superintendent and make sure the superintendent is held accountable for the goals that the board sets for the superintendent. So I would intend to create a very clear list of goals and make sure that the superintendent has the support he needs to meet those goals. In terms of what are the 3 issues, I think they're all sort of related to COVID for me, the immediate issues. Looking forward to September, we need to address our children's social, emotional, and academic needs. We're going to have kids coming in having experienced different degrees of trauma. We're going to have kids coming in, as they always do, with different academic needs, but perhaps the gap will be greater, and we need to work to meet every child where they are.
Thank you. Mr. Lozito.
Sure. I believe the 3 words that I would describe the relationship are governance, guidance, and transparency. Meaning the board is the governing body of the district. It is by and for the people, by and for the residents. It is an oversight of policy, and it does need to govern how the district works in the future. From a guidance perspective, the board's primary objective is strategic. I heard Patty mention before about there are things in the STEM lab that we can't imagine. The board is supposed to imagine. That's what the board is there for, to set policy, to say this is where things will go. And finally, transparency. We've talked about transparency multiple times already. It is an issue, and we need to make sure that the superintendent understands that, not only for his performance, but for the performance of the district.
Can I go? I'm not sure. We're part frozen.
We're part frozen.
Okay,
Okay.
May I
Dropped
go?
out for a minute, but I think we're okay.
I think so. Okay. Every successful school district has a very collaborative relationship between the school board and the superintendent. In my experience as a board of ed trustee, I can say every year we create new goals that a superintendent is to achieve during that school year. And at the end of every year, we fill out a superintendent evaluation to evaluate if the superintendent has met those goals and where they can do better and where they exceeded our goals. What I think we need to work on most at Rye Neck is communication. Effective communication with parents is paramount to a successful homeschool partnership. And in my mind, it's an area we can improve on. Whether it involves getting more people to attend meetings, having more people volunteer, or communications sent out by the district, we need to be more effective. This year has been particularly difficult with COVID, but I believe steps have been made in the right direction. However, I can't strengthen enough that transparent, thoughtful communications are critically important for our district.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and Ms. Michalski will start the next question. You've got first crack at this. Please cite one decision the current Board of Education has made this past year that you agree with, and one that you disagree with, and explain why or why not.
Thank you. That's a really great question. I do have to say that one of the paramount decision I agreed with was the hiring of our superintendent. That is going to be our forward thinking, our vision for the future. And I believe that the hiring of Eric Latinsky was in the best interest of our students. I can tell you an area where it was difficult was for the board to come to consensus about bringing children back to school. When was the right time? When was the safe time? There were a lot of factors that went into those decisions, and the emotional health of our children, in addition to the physical health of our students and faculty. It was a very, very difficult decision. But I do think in the end, we made the decisions that were the best for the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey.
So one decision I agree with is getting the kids back into the classrooms. Some may say it took too long. Some may disagree with that. Some didn't want to go back yet for obvious reasons. But I think getting the kids back, as quickly as possible was important to do so in a safe way, of course. One decision I disagree with, I'm sure there are decisions I disagree with, but I'm honestly not thinking of a specific one at the moment. Again, not to say that I'm sure there were things done, I was so hyper focused on COVID, all year, which, I mean, I think the board did a good job, with masks and buying dividers and all of that kind of stuff. It's kind of hard for me to think outside of COVID right now, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mansell.
Yeah, I agree with Heather about the board being excellent in eventually bringing all the children back into classrooms. All of our kids, K through 12, have the opportunity to be in classrooms 5 days a week. And I'm sure you guys, some of you agree that it's wonderful to have our kids back learning every day in school with their peers. It makes a huge difference to their learning and also just their social and emotional well-being, which to me is the most important thing as a mom to 3 children. In terms of what I think the choice was that I disagree with, it's hard to know exactly what was the board, what was the school district. I don't think I disagree with anything specifically, but I do wish I had more insight into the way decisions were made, particularly the first half of the year with the hybrid plan, with the remote plan. Children who were remote only had access to a teacher every other day. And I know as an educator, there are a lot of factors that made that happen. So I don't want to say I disagree with the plan, but I just would have liked to have more information.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Lozito.
I'm going to answer this question a little bit differently, cross-sectionally. I agree with the substance of how the district has handled coronavirus. It is as I've said, it's the challenge of the century. I think we all know that. And frankly, the board doesn't have a heck of a lot of discretion in some decisions on that standard. The superintendent choice, I agree with because I trust that the process was taken care of by the board and the district behind the scenes. What I disagree with is the form of both of those decisions. I think transparency continues to come up as an issue. And the fact is, optics matter. Being clear about how you arrived at a decision, what your sequence of decision tree was, is important. And it seems to me that there are a number of residents in this district who are concerned that the current board has a lot of opportunity in this area. And it begins to breed questions on the substance of the decision. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
well.
Okay. And the next question will begin with you, Mr. Lozito.
Sure.
How would you propose that the administration deal with the educational gaps resulting from the pandemic?
I think we have to decide strategically what the district wants to be over the long term, what the performance metrics will be. And then we need to be able to measure our performance against those. In our district, there is a performance gap, and there are many, many different causals beyond just coronavirus. Rebecca mentioned, different modes of education over the past year. My recommendation would be to leverage some of the investment by the state. They are coming over with, I believe, almost $1 million of investment. I think $700,000 to focus on these types of issues. And I think I'm the best candidate to try to access those dollars to affect counseling, to affect focused relationships with the students, to really accelerate that as we come out of this pandemic.
Thank you. Ms. Michalski.
Yes. Equitable education is something the board does and should take very seriously. The term learning loss and gap has certainly been in existence long before COVID, mostly related to summer vacations. And rather than a loss, I feel it should be categorized as more of unfinished learning, or they haven't learned it yet. It's learning that can be recouped. And in my mind, this applies not only to academics, but social emotional development as well. As a member of the Board of Education, I can tell you unequivocally that this is one of our goals for next year. It takes work and conversations with our educators and administrators to ensure that we can continue to move our students forward and get them to where they need to be. Thank you.
Ms. Harvey.
So I think we need to evaluate which students need help, because some students haven't fallen behind, and we don't need to put extra resources toward those students. Whereas some students, learning in this way is very, very difficult. And maybe they were already behind or already a different type of learner that this type of situation would not do well. So I think we need to evaluate exactly who needs the extra help in talking to teachers, in maybe looking at test scores, although that's sort of a different topic. Figure out who needs the help and make sure they are getting the help. And I think this needs to be done before next year, before the fall. There are talks of providing some summer school, which I